Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for April 16th through 19th, 2021. How are you doing? Wow. Well, I know I say this every week, but the astrology is so potent this weekend. And so let's talk it through. We've got all of these planets at 26 degrees. So we've got Pluto is, of course, the slowest moving of them all. They're at 26 degrees. Now, 26 degrees is also the degree of the Galactic Center in Sagittarius. So Pluto in Capricorn is one sign over that semi-sextile configuration, which is about good buddies trying to solve problems together. And so what's going on is that all of these planets are lining up at 26 degrees. And of course, Mars, Jupiter, these planets move slower. Mercury and the Sun, fast moving planets, coming together exactly at 26 degrees in Aries, exactly square to Pluto in Capricorn, which is semi-sextile to that galactic center in Sagittarius. Now, Mars is at 26 degrees Gemini. That's exactly opposite the galactic center in Sagittarius. So that line, the Gemini-Sag line axis is making a line, and all the other planets that are lining up are on the other side of the zodiac. What happens when these planets line up like this, which is so epic, because it happens with our personal planets, they're moving all over the place. But for Mars, Jupiter, and Pluto all to be at 26 degrees, and Pluto in exact square to Sun, Mercury together in conjunction at 26 degrees, what in the heck is going on here? And again, we have some beautiful, powerful, supportive transits, and we've got the square. The main square we're feeling is this Sun, Mercury in square to Pluto. Now, what is this about? Sun and Mercury together is a completion of the Mercury retrograde that happened in February in Aquarius, and Mercury catching back up to the Sun. So it's a culmination energy, and we've also had Venus just move over into Taurus. Now, Venus rules Taurus. She's at home in Taurus. She feels safe, like she can rest and relax, find the ground under her feet for a little minute. And this is all about assimilating the changes that have already happened in 2021. And it's like a huge year. Like I said, every week is more epic astrology, and this one's more epic than all the last. And what is it saying to us? When are these vibrational frequencies of massive activation and enlightenment going to hit home on the earth? When are they going to break through the firmament? When are they going to break through the lower matrix and come into our heart again? And that's exactly the key, when we allow these to come back into our heart. So what's the problem? Well, so Sun and Mercury are about who we are. It's a complete imagining and reorientation of our psyche and our reality, our identity. Now in Aries, it's about dropping the false identity and coming into our I am presence. And this is everything that's going on. Pluto in Capricorn, breaking down those old structures. So what are these old structures? These are old structures of personality constructs. And this is everything. It's everything that's holding back the supernova soul right now. And it was the whole deliberate program, because as a light worker, you were targeted again and again. Coming to try to bring the light, trying to bring the truth, trying to be a healer. What happened, this is this Galactic Center activation, the Sagittarius energy, because we've got that, South Node in Sag. And with all these planets lining up with the Galactic Center in a line, it's like, what in the heck? This is our galactic destiny, our bigger destiny. But it's really ironic, because what keeps us from our bigger destiny, our God consciousness, our gifts, our skills, our truth, that bigger self I keep talking about, which it's so beautiful and it's so big and it's so, you don't even know who you are. You only have an inkling inside of you. And what's keeping this from landing home? And it has to do with this Galactic Center activation, because we're speaking in Sagittarius and the Galactic Center about these past lives, because these past lives were You may have been targeted as a light worker. The reason why you're targeted is because you were so on fire about being here and bringing the light and your mission and your purpose, and you had a role that you were playing. How can you bring the light? These are stories that have played out through time. But then when those stories were interrupted because you were thwarted in your mission again and again, and then if you're here in a body as an advanced soul right now, you have your own karmic thing to work through, which is like you as the reluctant leader, coming into your power, coming into your potential. And the whole energy of why you're here is because you're working out these past personality constructs where you got attached to the role that you were playing. Now, when you were attached to the role you were playing, you thought that's who you were and your spiritual mission. And then when that spiritual mission got interrupted, there's this deep programming. See, this is the trauma programming of your so-called failure, right? Of not completing your mission. And that was all a ploy to keep you attached to the personality stories, like that robe you were wearing, say, or those clothes you were wearing, whatever, this garment that represents the role you were playing in that life is now glued to you through scar tissue, psychic scar tissue. And we're like dismantling this. And when you dismantle these old stories, it feels like you're nothing, right? Who am I? I thought I was here to save the world. Who am I? Right? And this is the trick, because everything that's keeping us in the lower matrix and from landing home, our bigger spiritual self, that's our Christed self that's trying to land right now, all has to do with this for the advanced supernova soul. And of course, in these feelings of grief, this failure over, that the earth you came here to serve, you love so much. And then you feel that you were you failed in your mission, but you weren't. You were attacked and targeted. And so we've become so attached with those old stories that weren't fulfilled and weren't finished, that we're stuck in those loops. And then the control matrix energies just keep pushing our buttons, right? Can you feel it? As soon as you're feeling like you're getting somewhere, something comes along and pushes your buttons back into that lower matrix. And it's going to happen again and again until we clear those traumas, right? So many of us have been trauma bonded. That's what we think is love as an advanced soul. And then it's like, okay, so how do you get rid of the trauma bond? You get rid of the trauma. You heal the trauma. And so we cannot incarnate. So there's this feeling of this death process of like, who am I? I'm nothing. I'm just floating along here in this dark corridor. And who left me here? I can feel supernova souls like, this is your quarantine. This is showing you your quarantine. It's that rat in the cage getting to the end of the road again and again and again. And when are you going to give yourself permission to get out? But when you go to step out, it feels like, oh my God, I'm nothing. And of course, I'm seeing really this huge bloom of this quarantine type energy, and that supernova souls are feeling surrounded by people that are really buying into the lower matrix. It's like we're in this kind of extreme experience of quarantine as a supernova soul, just to make sure that nobody around you can validate your reality. That means your reality is freaking powerful. All of this to keep you from living your truth. This is the thing. So as well as dropping the old stories, this activation, Pluto, Sun, Mercury square Pluto, Galactic Center activation, it's about making room for the true self of who you are, right? So this is where we have to go, wait a minute, okay, we have to rethink this programming, because it says, wait, I failed in my mission and I didn't do it right, and I'm attached to these old stories, and who am I without my purpose and all this, right? And it's like that purpose was an old dynamic from an old experience. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? What are you being here? Because who you really are, this bigger, beautiful, abundant spiritual gift, are you ready to respect that? Are you ready to demand and command the people around you respect this precious gift that you are? This is part of the Taurus energy we're moving into. Healing that Black Moon Lilith, deep transgression into the shame programming. and receiving the blessings and the gifts of who we are. Nobody else can receive it until we receive it. We're waiting around for somebody to recognize and honor us, and we can't do it for ourselves. We're disrespecting God within ourselves, clinging to stories of the past that are complete and total bullshit. Because this bigger self, like, so this is where we need to tell ourselves this, like, when you go to that place of like, oh my God, I'm dissolving, I'm nothing, like who am I? I'm all alone in this dark corridor, who left me here? That is just before you break out of that maze and matrix, and you have to tell yourself, no, I am everything. I'm nothing and I'm everything. And I'm making room for my divine Christed self that's way more evolved. You've done way more work with this part of you. You're way more comfortable with this part of you. And guess what? It's absolutely in alignment with the divine timeline. And there's nothing to give up. You're not losing anything. You're gaining your true self, your true expression, the only thing you came here to do. And so this astrology is off the charts because of this, coming face to face with those personality constructs, and in the wilderness and the alone and the quarantine. It's like almost like maybe we're going to feel more and more of that quarantine feeling. It's like we're going back and out, in and out of these different realities, right? But that quarantine feeling of you as a soul all alone, it's like you're going to feel that until it's like that trauma. You're going to feel that until you heal the wound of separation. That's what you're here for, and incarnate your God self. But you're more comfortable with that. You're more full with that. That's your full expression, you in your full expression. So when these old constructs die, it feels like we're totally losing our identity. We have no idea who we are. And it's free fall, ego death, so scary for the psyche. But tell yourself and remind yourself that what's trying to land is way more true to who you are. And it's absolutely in alignment with the divine timeline. And you've been waiting and preparing for this time. And so it just doesn't make any sense to cling to those old stories. It's playing out subconsciously, so it's hard to get a handle on this, right? So much from past lives just playing out like a movie in your dreams. Like, I'm just seeing this continual kind of tarot card reading going on, right? Images and flashes, past life reading, energies trying to process in your field so that you can make room for this and give yourself permission to be in this bigger self. But just remind yourself that there's nothing to give up. It's actually more fulfilling, more you, more these precious gifts and skills, your individual expression. And this is the thing, like, for us to get stuck in these old stories where we got attached to these old stories where we so-called failed the earth and all that, right? And failed God, that put our destiny at odds with the divine timeline. And we got to drop those stories, right? And it comes back to this declaration, this Aries energy is this declaration of independence from all. So the Pluto breakdown is those personality constructs, but all the contracts that have kept you playing small, kept you feeling unworthy and a failure, like you failed and you fell and you all that crap. And it's just like stewing up like a big, but it's so profound and so powerful because these planets, I've never seen anything like this lining up at 26 degrees. Now 2 and 6 is 8, and that's this number of transformation. And in this case, it's about transfiguration. It's about this process we're in of landing home, our Christed self, which is also transmuting the physical. And this is the pain we're feeling, is this dismantling of who we thought we were. It's excruciatingly painful. I mean, think about those in the lower matrix, like fully invested, what they have to go through, are going to have to go through if they want to evolve. You're way less attached to these stories, and yet that maybe it's us understanding this process. Your precursors, this is what's come through with supernova souls. You're here to lead the way. You're on the cutting edge. You have to do it first and demonstrate to humanity it's okay. And this is where it's like, wow, this is so painful, so painful. And then there's this glimpse of light coming in that's like, oh my God, like, thank God for everything I've gone through to get me to this place of being awake to who I really am as a spiritual being and being able to be present and awake and aware. Now, There is a war against awake and aware people right now. Like we said, the quarantine's surrounded by people who just don't freaking get it. They don't want to get it. They don't want to hear one word about it. And they will attack you if you threaten their mind control structure. So, but this lining up of planets is inviting us to activate, like literally right now, right here. Are you ready to fly? Because those greater conjunction planets, Jupiter and Saturn, still in Aquarius, and they're both in trine to Gemini. Saturn, North Node. How do we harmonize and move forward with our empowered voice, you know? And then we've got Jupiter trying to expand into the Aquarian age, just cruising through Aquarius right now, in trine to Mars in Gemini. Mars wants to go, wants to have the voice, wants to be the leader that he is and get up on that pedestal and speak the truth and live the truth, right? And these trines are so positive. It's that wind and air, you know? So we've got wind and air, and then we've got this lining up at 26, this transformation, this huge elaborate story about reclaiming back our access to life force. And maybe that's it. Like, we can't access our full life force while we're loyal to those old stories, because inherent in there we don't deserve. So how can we receive the divine intervention and the support of the legions of light that want to come into our world and our life and walk with us right now? They want to walk with us right now. They want to be like, we are with you. We've been with you the whole time, but we couldn't communicate with you. You weren't aware, and the matrix was in the way. And, you know, we had to have you ask and ask and ask. And now we're walking together. Can you receive that into your life? If you're still feeling like deep hidden low self-worth from some sort of failure in your mission, you're never going to be able to step back into the legions of light and the support and the work that you came here to do. And it's been, you know, you've been doing it the whole time. You just didn't know in your consciousness. And now it's time to land home. And this is saying this. So when the planets line up like this, the 26 degrees energy, it creates, there's two sextiles, two trines. We talk about the two trines. There's two sextiles, and there's some Pluto in semi-sextile to Jupiter in Aquarius and the Galactic Center. So that means Jupiter and the Galactic Center are in sextile together. It just goes on and on. I could talk for hours about all these transits, each one so potent and so powerful. And guess what? There's only one square in the mix that we're really feeling. And that's this Sun, Mercury square Pluto. Who you thought you were, gotta go. And who you thought you were is in relationship to that idea of your spiritual mission and purpose here on earth that you did not get to fulfill. And what if this is the trick in the trap? Because right now is when you fulfill it. Right now. We're here doing it. We made it. And don't let this world, don't let those people that can't, you know, wake up or be in your reality, I mean, don't let them take a moment of your attention and your precious, precious gift that you are for this world right now. Maybe we're in this quarantine, we're at the end of the road in the rat maze, in the matrix, and we're going into our chrysalis. I see a butterfly. I see a butterfly that doesn't quite know she's a butterfly, and she's about to break free. And that's this astrology, because this lining up of, you know, each sign having this 26 degree marker and creates a flower of life pattern, in which is creation energy. You know, it's the pattern of how an egg, of what happens as an egg reproduces and grows in our early stages of life. Flower of life. When are you going to come back into your full flower, your divine essence, your precious flower? Flowers are a gift that need to be tended to and appreciated. And I know it's a far cry from how you felt in this world, and that shit's blooming up everywhere. Nobody can acknowledge your spiritual light, because your spiritual light threatens their whole construct. And why are we being surrounded by these people right now? It must be because it's showing us that we're at the end of the road. we're in the rat maze. You cannot see your way out until you know for sure that you're in there. Ooh, so a bloom of all of these old relationship constructs and contracts, narcissist, empath stuff. Maybe it's like this cleansing of, this bloom of the monster as a cleansing, healing crisis in our individual lives. That's probably from that Venus square Pluto that we're just coming off of. Whew, that was a powerful transit. And so, but ultimately, all of these transits together are saying it's time to fly. 2 air trines. And the flower of life pattern, which when I see that in a birth chart, it speaks to this soul coming in for full activation, for the light body, for this transfiguration. So this full potential. And that full potential, your spiritual gifts, has nothing, zero, to do with those old stories. And yet we cling to those old stories as a lifeboat, and it's a sinking ship. Can you be brave and lead the way and dissolve? Let this Aries energy just like burn away all the faults, and let that I am presence, this nuclear fusion in your heart, land and be there and come into your greater destiny, which is the divine timeline, your beautiful individual expression, and this beautiful set of gifts and skills you worked so hard to accumulate. This is the gifts you take with you lifetime to lifetime. And like I said, it's connected somewhat to the role you played. But what happened with this infection, this Satan or whatever, the evil forces, whatever, it's all about infection with an attachment to the physical, that who we are is the role we're playing, the lifetime we're in, the body we're in, And this is what keeps souls stuck, because they can't die consciously and fully go back to source. Come back. This is what happens when you're targeted in a lifetime. Say you got a traumatic death and you're running along, fulfilling your mission, and all of a sudden, boom. And you come right back and you want to hit the ground running and get right back to work, except you're stuck in an old personality construct because that doesn't fit your new life. You didn't go back to source. You didn't rest. How long has it been since your soul has been able to rest? And it's all tied up in this story of you failing in your mission on the earth and all this shit that's coming up right now. So, but then this lining up is saying, now there's full permission to activate into that full potential, which is your divine expression, your individual set of skills that is your divine expression, absolutely in alignment with the divine timeline. No separate self. And you don't have to give anything up. These gifts and skills are so rich. You're so abundant. And yet we're here going clinging and I know you can feel it. It's like moment to moment, right? That's a good thing. Don't get too attached to how you feel in the moment, because it's like very dynamic right now. And it's a good time to be that observer, and be like, oh, I'm having these flashes of past life, subconscious cleansing going on. And that's there. And that's when we affirm our God self, because if we were our issues, if we were our identity, if we were our stories, then we wouldn't be able to observe them. The fact that we can observe them means we're not that. So step back and let this cleansing happen and know you're making room for that I am. And you don't have to give anything up, and you're not alone. It's just that you're coming to the end of the movie, and it feels very, very uncomfortable because you're here to lead the way in the leap out. But this astrology is saying, light it up. Light it up. It's interesting because Mercury and the sun are in Aries at 26. That's a sextile to Jupiter in Aquarius, expanding into this new age, trying to bring us into the future. And then sextile also to Mars and Gemini. Now, this creates this, if there was something at 26 Libra, this would make a kite in the sky, which is so interesting because it's air trine and it's like time to fly, time to soar, time to shine, time to incarnate, time to rise above time to come into these new frequency vibrations. And yeah, 26 degrees Libra, it's like a big hole is there. And so we're speaking to the role of connection, relationship. It's, and it's interesting how alone supernova soul is feeling, even more alone than this whole year. It's a bloom of this aloneness and quarantine. So just know that, right? And, this balance between and harmony between the masculine and the feminine, and bringing us back to that whole story. And it's just so wild how all of these connections are being made and all of these transits are being made. And like I said, when you have the square, the pressure to drop the old stories, Sun, Mercury square Pluto, but then all these positive transits saying you can do this. You're being pushed out of the nest and you didn't even know you were a bird and had wings. The chrysalis is completing. So sit tight, be present, don't miss a moment, because this astrology is so epic and so beautiful. And who knows if it's just one by one as we flip that switch inside of ourselves and say, I'm establishing here now. I can understand and see that there's nothing to give up. My bigger self is so much more fun and divine and in alignment and landing home. And there's nothing to give up. It's win-win. Now you get to receive this Taurus energy we're moving into, because on Monday, Mercury and the Sun will move into Taurus. And so that's going to be a big shift of energy. Mars, the next week, will be moving into Cancer, and they'll be doing some, we'll be kind of interacting with this Cancer. We'll be moving into the Earth and water sextiles with Cancer and Taurus. And so this is a big shifting energy. And what's going to happen with this Taurus energy is bring up all that deep, dark, painful Black Moon Lilith stuff we went through around and cleansing out that shame. But now you receive your gift. Now you receive your abundance. Now you receive the spiritual wealth that you are. And like we said, the spiritual wealth that you are is not attached to those old stories. We thought that was more real than the spiritual wealth. We've been completely disconnected from our spiritual wealth. And so it's interesting because it's almost like I'm seeing a rubber band as we become aware of this. And as we let go of those old stories, this bigger self is like coming back in, vibrationally rebounding, a retractable cord of golden light pulling in this bigger spiritual self, your supernova self. And it's a glorious time of celebration of this abundance of who you are. And can you receive it? Do you deserve it? If you're in the old stories, no way. And then how many relationships and situations have we let people trod upon the precious gift that we are? Are you willing to stand up and hold this sacred spiritual gift of who you are? Because how can you receive it? How can your higher self let you receive it if you're going to let people trample all over it? So this is the time to receive your gold, to land home in your power. And we're all doing it together, but we're in that weird place of being in the maze and coming to the end. So just reach out, know you're with your soul group, know the legions of light are coming to walk with you in every moment. And this bloom of and cleansing is just getting rid of the monsters. These are hereditary programmed monsters, identity attachment. This is who we are, right? I was like, no. That's why we came into these bloodlines. We're like, no, that's not. I played along with this, but it's not who I am. Not at all. How many times have you been like, am I the narcissist? I'm so confused now. I'm so manipulated. Maybe I'm the narcissist. No, you're not capable of that. And yet you've had to go to their level to try to clear this karma again and again and again as they manipulated and betrayed you again and again and again. And now you stand up because you got the power. You had it all along. So abundant celebrations to come as we move into the abundance of who we are and fully receive this back home in our heart. And so we'll see what this astrology is like. It's one of those things, the more I talk it through, the more I feel completely clueless about what this means besides the message, it's time to fly. What does that mean for you? It means it's time to have levity in your life, to really live that life force, claim it back. Now execute it, do something with it. Find a creative project you can get on fire about. Focus. Don't let yourself get distracted in these precious moments, because everything, tentacles are coming for you. There's not very many of us. I mean, there's so many of us, but in our diluted places, it feels like sometimes you go out in the world and you're, as a supernova soul, you're working more and more to come into this light, to come into your true self, to come into your buoyancy, to come into your light body. But it feels like there's this kind of attack on it, as far as like, oh, you know, like it's a threat. It's like you have your access to your own life force. That's rare. It's becoming rare. Oh God, humanity. I hope we can turn this. I mean, we know we're turning the ship around, but ooh, how hard is it to be awake and wish you were asleep with everybody else, and just concede to how many people around you are trying to get you to concede to their reality. Get your backs, get your backs. But maybe there's a bigger picture to this. You know, those that are running to get this, maybe there's an alchemical God force that is actually going to undo the mind control programming. Let's hold space for miracles. And that's an interesting energy, because tomorrow Neptune moves. This is icing on the cake here. Neptune moves to 22 degrees. Neptune only made it to 20 last year. This is epic, new territory. 22, such a powerful number. 22, master builder, the master builder race. It's about creating a whole new reality, just building a door and stepping through. And so Neptune, our dreamer, dreaming this new dream, our permission back out of the nightmare and into the dream. So Neptune at 22 degrees in Pisces, Black Moon Lilith is at 20 degrees Taurus, and will be coming up. We'll have this long sextile between these two energies, and that will be really interesting as we continue to explore the delusions of the past and what's keeping us from coming into our true spiritual abundance in this time. Right here, right now, it's yours. Reach out, grab it, claim back life in your life every moment as you can, and keep up the good work. Every moment you're making it through and bringing more light is supporting your soul group and the whole supernova light ship. So, and that supernova light ship is gaining speed and gaining support of these legions of light as we drop our contractual arrangements and loyalties to any lower energies. No more. And is this our daily life right now? Challenge, challenge, challenge. Oh, just shut up again. You know, it's so intense. It's like we're just reliving these old stories of control of the light and persecution. And it's right here with people we thought we, you know, but this is all going to come out in the wash. Let's hope soon. We got to shift this energy, right? Except for that we are that shift, you know? So keep in touch. Let me know how you're doing. And thank you so much for being here and claiming these moments. It's so magic. You're so magic. We're doing it. And the next chapter is glorious. Just like you, as you don this robe of glory of this true self, this Christed self, it's way more true to who you are. So don't worry about that ego death. Start walking again with those legions of light, with these masters. Every time you take a step. And that's your highest self, your future self too. So, all right. Well, hey, have a great weekend. Enjoy this astrology. Try to fly. What makes you feel light and levity? Claim that for yourself in a little way, as a message to yourself that you're willing to give yourself permission to no longer be the sacrificial lamb for humanity. You know? Oh, so much of what you're holding now isn't yours. All these people mind controlled and asleep. They're not feeling their emotions. They're not connected. You're feeling all their fear. Maybe this is, and then you're like beating yourself up because you thought you did all this spiritual work, and here you are, a broken little girl. You're amazing. And so keep up the great work. And let's stay connected together. Even through quarantine, we're like busting through. And so have a great weekend. I look forward to seeing you soon on the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.